We all like to think we're smart, don't we? Some of us know how to design space rockets. Some of us know how to fix broken organs and limbs. Some of us can even program vast landscapes, worlds, even universes. And some of us know who won the FA Cup in 1997 and who they beat in the final. It was Chelsea and Middlesbrough, respectively. And I guess that makes me just as smart and important as those other types of people I mentioned. And finally, in 2001 at least, all that useless football knowledge finally came to use. Well, sort of use. But yay, a quiz game that concentrated on stuff I know rather than, the currency of Belize or the name of the palace in Copenhagen. No general knowledge questions for me, thanks. I'll just have questions about Hertha Berlin or, Albertini or something like that. Not questions like you found on that Who Wants to Be a Millionaire game that I did the other month. But where does this licence come from? Well, Sky Sports launched in 1990 under the name of the Sports Channel on March the 27th. It was part of BSB, aka British Satellite Broadcasting. Sky had launched a rival sports channel the same year called Eurosport, but had pulled out of the deal with the European Broadcasting Union after a legal wrangling. In August of 1990, BSB and Sky merged and the sports channel became Sky Sports. Initially, it aired rugby and the Bundesliga from Germany and Serie A football from Italy. But then Sky had the smart idea of helping to nudge the seed of a greedy money-making idea into the minds of the chairman of the First Division clubs. I am, of course, talking about the Premier League. It was a breakaway from the FA football pyramid and featured the very best teams in the country. It's a bit like that dreadful European Super League idea they came up with a couple of years ago, but not a closed shop seen as a last desperate hurrah for the spend-happy likes of Barcelona and Juventus who want some of that Premier League gravy train. Sorry, guys. Mind you, people thought the Premier League was a bad idea at the time, and, maybe it is. But at least the Premier League hasn't stopped the likes of Barnsley or Blackpool joining the league just because kids in North America and Africa don't walk around wearing their kits. Anyway, Sky became synonymous with top-level English football for decades, with competitors like BT, Amazon and the like only now starting to make inroads into Sky's Premier League coverage. But for the time when this game came out, Sky was very much the millennium-era Manchester United in terms of televising football in 2001, unlike today where it's the Man United of 2020 of televised football, as in part of a group of contenders rather than just a standout, and not even the best one of those. And so we find Sky Sports Football Quiz, no doubt released in the wake of the success of the previously mentioned Who Wants to Be a Millionaire series. Unlike Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, Sky Sports Football Quiz doesn't really have a base show to copy the atmosphere or format from. It's not really a TV show, is it, Sky Sports? It's a 24-hour sports and sports news channel. But it does take the look of that whole sports channel aesthetic. The whites, the reds, the general presentation are synonymous with the Sky Sports brand, and you couldn't really mistake that design for any other domestic sports channel or sports programme. It's a Sky Sports game through and through. The presence of Kirsty Gallacher, the channel's long-term sports news desk presenter, certainly helps proceedings, though like Chris Tarrant it's largely just in the form of a ghostly quizzical voice, as opposed to filling the screen with her glamourpuss Scottish face. She does appear on the title screen and the back of the box, like a sexy siren whispering sweet nothings about Ian Dowie or Plymouth Argyle in order to get the enamoured gentleman in the shop to shipwreck his wallet upon the stone of the HMV sales counter. THQ and Sky worked together to bring this title to our PlayStations, And they wisely hired Who Wants to Be a Millionaire developer Alum's Hot House Productions to put this together, and I think they made a damn fine go of it. I mean, if your knowledge of football is that Wayne Rooney played for England, or Posh Spice married David Beckham, or that the World Cup keeps shifting EastEnders out of its usual time slot, then this is not the game for you. Indeed, if your football knowledge is decidedly Gen Z with your Mbappes, your Haalands and your Vinicius Juniors, then again, this isn't going to be much use to you either. This is very much pre-Ronaldo, this is pre-Messi, and those guys are close to retirement now. So your average soccer crazy kid or teen, or even a guy in their 20s, they're going to struggle here. It's 30-year-olds and up for this game. Trust me on this. I mean, I remember playing St and Greavesy on the Spectrum in 2019 and hating it because I didn't have any boomer football knowledge. But this game, it hit a particular sweet spot for me. I started getting into football in the mid-1990s and probably fell out of love with it in the sort of mid to late 2000s. I still follow England now, but I'm not really into the Premier League as such. Not because it's a worse sport than it was 20 years ago. I just ran out of time to get interested in it. It's on all the time, isn't it? Football this, football that. The international games are just enough for me, which I know is the reverse of how many other people feel. But yes, this is a game of my era. It features Henry, it features Shearer, it features Van Nistelrooy, and the names of those sort of lame foreigners from the time, like Oleg Luzhny and Juan Pablo Angel. And it's not particularly an attractive game to look at. It's not particularly deep. It doesn't even have many questions. But I became utterly charmed with it due to my memberberry juice squirting into my skull. And as soon as I fired it up, I loved it. Even though it's objectively terrible, it does some clever things. The main two modes, although multiplayer is available, are the League mode and the Dream Team mode. Now, the League mode lets you select your club, and depending on which team you are, it'll sort of badger you if you're not doing well enough. So if you play as a Manchester United or a Chelsea or an Arsenal, you'll be expected to be at the top of the table come the end of the season. Whereas if you're a Bradford or a Sheffield Wednesday, you can just sort of lounge in mid-table and be admired by your chairman as if you're some sort of temptress with the calves of Jack Grealish or something. It is a premise that football fans will easily understand. You have 38 fixtures, just like the Premier League, and you'll answer 2 questions, 1 in each half. Get 2 wrong and you'll lose the game. Get 1 wrong and you'll draw, and get 2 right and you'll win. Although form and home fixtures play a part, so you could lose or draw with 1 correct answer. That mode would probably be enough to cheer me up on its own. But the best part of the game is actually the Dream Team mode. You're presented with 11 rounds laid out on the pitch in the 4-4-2 formation, just how proper English football is played by the likes of Sam Allardyce and Roy Hodgson and Alan Pardew and all those sort of English football managers. You play each round and you'll be required to answer a clutch of questions. The quicker you answer with a correct answer, the more cash is thrown at you. Get it wrong and you'll get a yellow card. Get another one wrong and you'll miss a question, thanks to you being a naughty boy and getting a red card. You can leave a question, but you won't get any money at all. And you need that money to buy players, you see. And the round you're answering on the pitch is the one position that you're buying for. So, depending on how well you've done, you might only be able to afford Titus Bramble as a centre-back instead of someone good like Rio Ferdinand or Sol Campbell. Will you end up with Peggy R. Fixad or Peter Schmeichel in goal? Or will you save some money up for a decent player in the middle of the pitch and maybe not get the best striker available? Will you go for someone decent but not amazing like Dion Dublin or Paulo Wanshop, so you can splash on a superstar like Ginola, Beckham or Vieira. It's this level of nostalgia and the strategy involved with assembling your team that puts it beyond a lot of other quiz games. And plus, again, for me, the nostalgia of seeing all these names, and even the ones that are very cheap, will raise a smile to my face. This mode is absolutely awesome. If you're into this kind of thing, I cannot stress this strongly enough. If you weren't into football in the early 2000s, this will have absolutely no appeal at all. I would say that I tried out the multiplayer games, but I didn't. Unfortunately, none of my friends will understand the ridiculous glee of seeing the names of Laurent Robert, Abel Xavier and Gazetta Mendieta. I'm sure if you can get a lot of turn of the century football fans together, you'll have a hoot, but that will be a tough task. Like I've repeated throughout this review, this is a terrible game, an empty, short-lived cash-in on a brief fad for quiz games that happened on the PlayStation towards its dying days. But I absolutely love it as well. There's not even footage from the football games of the era, despite the Sky license. And yes, while I understand that space on CDs is very small, you could have put a blurry compressed video or 30 on there. It's not like the rest of the game is going to take a lot of space up. Kirsty Gallacher talking isn't going to fill the CD to its brim. It is just still pictures, text and the odd audio sample, and it still put a dumb smile on my face. It's vapid, it's empty, there's nothing to look at that's particularly interesting. It's dull, and yet it's one of the most fun games I've played this year, and could only be topped if someone finds a hitherto unseen PlayStation 2 video game where you simulate the role of Natalie Portman's underpants. It's a game for me almost exclusively. I understand that. And tomorrow I'm going to treat myself and play the sequel, because yes, it got a sequel. But don't worry, I'm not going to review that. I simply can't be that objective about it. It's going to be crap and I'm going to love it. Well, next up there is going to be a game that is also crap, and I know I won't love it. Yes, it's going to be Alf on the Master System. Why am I doing this?